Look, Dad, I'm a real influencer now. They send me things. Okay, so this is a Radeon 7900 XTX from AMD, and since they sent it to me for free, you should all buy one. I'm just kidding, but like, I get the sentiment. A lot of people are like, this channel's gonna change. I'm getting free review samples and all of that now. I talked way more about that in my, what did I call it? I'm an NVIDIA shill now video or whatever, when NVIDIA started sending me GPUs. By the way, I did also get the 7900 XT version here as well from AMD. And so since these are sent from AMD, these are the AMD reference design versions of the cards. And anyway, what I'm getting at here, guys, is while it's helpful for me not to have to spend all the money I make in ad revenue on buying the GPUs, don't expect any difference in my coverage. And if my coverage is negative and I got review samples pulled by NVIDIA or AMD, I'm just gonna keep doing my thing. Like I said, watch the other video if you're too worried about that. In this video, I mostly wanna just celebrate the fact, guys, I have almost 100,000 subscribers. That is absolutely insane. I did not think the channel would ever get that big, and it's happened way faster than I could have believed. But anyway, how about we celebrate by putting on our Team Red hats and opening up some Christmas presents here. If you guys are worried, like, is he like ignoring his kids on Christmas Day and opening up GPUs and said, guys, videos don't always get filmed on the day they're published. Anyway, all right, so let's unbox these things, plug them in, see if they work, run a few tests, but expect the big like side-by-side comparisons coming soon. Maybe I'll show you guys a bit of my actual setup and how I actually do my GPU. I can't speak. Let's open up some boxes. All right, as usual with unboxings on this channel, I'm not really set up for an unboxing. So, the filming and all that is what it is. We've got the XT, we've got the XTX. Which one are we gonna start with? I think that's obvious. We're starting with the XTX. All right, let's see the full unboxing experience. I actually have not opened these yet. I just slipped the little plastic sticker off camera. Okay, so that's kind of nice. Did you guys see that? As you open the box, it kind of like pops up to like, display mode or something like that, which is kind of nice. So welcome to the Red Team, guys. The new standard of high performance gaming. Okay, while it's not huge, it feels solid, feels heavy. This is metal. This is all metal. This is not plastic. I mean, the fans are plastic, of course, but feels absolutely solid. Like the overall design. I wish there, honestly, guys, while I don't mind the few little red highlights, I will say that's not going to fit everyone's build. Looks like got a little bit of foam right there. So I would say that I think this would be more compatible with more people's build choices if there was no red, but I guess you could just like color over that or something if you really cared. We've got the little red fins. We've got the two 8-pin connectors. Some of the third-party cards have 3 pins and could probably get pushed farther on overclocking, but this kind of is what it is. Yeah, it looks like nothing really else in the box. Doesn't look like there's any plastic peels to do here, as far as I can tell. And so, let's go ahead and compare it to the XT version. All right, XT version. Radeon 7900 XT. It doesn't do the thing, guys. So that's the main reason why the XTX, in addition to an X costing $100 more, it also would get you a fancier little case opening. So this one does not prop itself up. So good reason to buy the more expensive model. Oh, which actually does make it a little harder to get out of the case. All right. Other than that, is that more plasticky? Was I wrong in the, no, that feels about the same. It's a little bit less heavy. Have the red, overall very similar design. And we've got, I guess I didn't show you the outputs on the other one, but we got HDMI, USB-C, a couple of display ports. All of that looks good. Maybe let's compare the two. And then when we put this in the case, we can just compare it to my 4090. And then you'll really see something there. All right, let's see. So size-wise, where am I gonna put all this stuff? Okay. Size-wise comparison between the two. The XTX model is bigger, but it's not like a massive difference. The height of the actual card itself here, I think, is actually, to me, the most noticeable difference there. But overall, I actually really like the look of these reference designs. And I think it's nice that they're small enough they'll be able to fit in a lot of cases that some of these massive coolers don't fit in. Speaking of which, let's actually pop this into my my testing PC. This is where I said I'd get into a little bit of showing off my testing environment. So one thing is, guys, I don't have a YouTube studio. That's where my test bench is currently. You guys might have seen my build on the white build over there. Right now, I need to find a better place for it because it's currently just kind of blocking all my guitar amps and things like that. But let's pop over there and switch out the 4090, do some comparisons. Okay, in addition to not being set up well for unboxings, I'm also not set up super well for filming changing out the GPUs. But one thing I want to show you guys, one thing I'd say is if you're going to swap out parts frequently, it's nice to have a screwless, just hinged door on the case and all of that. And anyway, let's take a look at this. So this is the RTX 4090. I have the Gigabyte Gaming OC version, and my camera is really in the way right now of me trying to actually reach anything, so we'll try our best. Unplug that, and as you can probably see, this is going to take up significantly less space. I'll get you some better side-by-sides here in a second. Let's unscrew this thing. Well, kind of probably an awkward angle for you guys to look at everything, but I couldn't figure out a better way to actually show what I'm doing here. So one thing about the 4090s is they're so big, you usually need some kind of anti-sag option so it's not going to actually slowly just bend and possibly even damage the PCIe slot in the motherboard. So, in addition to the normal screws over here, which we've got, this Gaming OC version I really like because some of them just have a little like stand that you put here. But the Gigabyte Gaming OC actually has this bracket that screws into the motherboard. And then it has this additional support screw and frame. It's a little more obnoxious to take out, but obviously most people aren't like me and switching out graphics cards constantly. But I really like this solution for providing a lot of support. Also, this motherboard has a nice little release button here instead of having to get to the actual little normal lever thing. So then this pops out. So this, we've got the Gigabyte Gaming OC, and here, a 4090. Here we have the 7900 XTX. So you can tell there is just a massive, massive size difference between these and the kind of cases that you could fit them in. Again, I think that shot really shows it. I mean, look at the difference both in the number of slots it's going to take as well as the overall length and all of that. There's a huge difference in the kinds of cases that could fit these comfortably. So let's go ahead and pop this in here and then make sure it actually works, fire up a couple of games, maybe even show you guys how I do my GPU captures now on my new system. All right, thought some of you would be interested in my new setup. How do I benchmark things? How is it all working? So I actually have two PCs running right now. We have, I don't know if I can show you, way over here in the corner is the test system. It's running a really long HDMI cord to this system, which is still my 5950X CPU, and right now I've got a 4080 in it. It has a capture card, and that capture card is inputting the signal from the test PC and then outputting that signal to my LG C1 OLED over here, this 4K screen. And then On this PC, which is actually the 5950X system, I have OBS open and it's set to capture what is happening on this. And like I said, it passes through here. And that way, when I run the benchmarks, there's no, how should I put it? There's no recording overhead, because when you record on the GPU encoders themselves, there can be a very small, it's only, like in some cases it's almost 0%, but there's a tiny bit of recording overhead. So I thought it was an overall improvement to my process to go ahead and just go to a 2PC setup to remove any possible issues there can be. Speaking of issues, guys, when you're benchmarking Cyberpunk, you have to really work hard to make sure it's applying settings correctly. That's a whole other note. Now also, how do I get the stats in the top corner of my screen that gets recorded in my videos? So that comes from, basically you download MSI Afterburner, or you could download, I think, Riva Tuner Statistics Server separately, but MSI Afterburner comes with Riva Tuner Statistics Server. And by the way, I'm not gonna actually record this run, because another thing that I do is I make sure the first time a benchmark runs, I don't record it, because just in case there's any kind of shader compilation, stuttering, or anything like that. We always run the first one as a practice run. It looks like right now we're over 60 frames per second on 4K ultra settings on Cyberpunk 2077. So like I said, if I was recording this, I would be hitting record. The video would pop up here. And then what I do is I label it with the settings that we actually use. And then I drag it into, I have a massive like 8 terabyte SSD in my editing PC. And on that, I have just a folder for each GPU and each game each game. And then I just label the files with the resolution and graphic settings that I use, so that when I get to the side-by-side editing, I know exactly what everything is, and that's kind of an efficiency gain. Because some of you guys are like, how do I have the time to do all of this? Well, honestly, while benchmarks are running, some of the benchmarks are pretty long, that kind of thing. A lot of times I can do my grading. Like, I do all my grading on an iPad. I have students turn in digital copies of their work. So really, a lot of it comes down to multitasking, but we might get into that in the future. So right now we're seeing a 68.6 average with minimums at 58.3 for that run. Now, I don't think with Cyberpunk running the first run through is really that necessary. I don't think the results actually change that much overall. But I like to do that anyway on all the benchmarks, just to make sure there aren't any, the frame time graph stays smooth if it should. That it's not just a shader compilation issue. So let's do an actual run now, right? So I did my initial run. I was mostly talking to you guys, but overall the GPU seemed to be performing at least roughly as expected. So we're running the benchmark run. I hit start record on the OBS thing over here. It's now popping up a file that it's gonna record while we do the run. The other thing I do is now to get the averages and the 1% lows, I'm gonna hit a hotkey over here on this PC. And yes, it does get a little bit confusing having 2 keyboards and 2 mice, but you get used to it. So I just started up a benchmark run by hitting the hotkey, and you can set that hotkey in MSI Afterburner. And that's getting me my averages and my 1% lows, the frame time graph, all of that. Those are all things that you have to set. Like MSI Afterburner and Riva Tuner Statistics Server isn't going to just show you all this stuff on its own. It's going to, you have to set it and so show how big you want the stuff to be, what things you want to see. And it can be a little bit confusing to get all that right, and that's not the main point of this video. But I think it's worth taking a look at if this is something you're interested in running. Overall, we're seeing 100% GPU load, boosting up to almost 2500 megahertz. Fan speeds at a little over 1700 RPM. And 71 degrees on the temperatures. Now, we have seen reports of hotspots having a bit of an issue, so that might be something I could look into in the future. Further reports I've seen on that say that there could be certain batches that just didn't have the thermal paste applied very well, and that repasting helps, but not something I've had a chance to look into. So now I end my benchmark run so that my 1% lows and all that get recorded, stopped there. And then you have the game's version itself. I usually wait a few seconds on this screen to have that as part of the video if I want it. We stop recording, and then this is where having 2 keyboards, right? I've got the keyboard on the actual test system, which even though it's way over there, it's a wireless keyboard. It's the Logitech, what is it? It's a G915 TKL. This is the 10 keyless version. I like this version for gaming the most, so I have it on the gaming PC. And then I have the Logitech G915 full number pad version right here, and that's running on my editing PC. I like having the full number pad. And these keyboards are a little bit pricey, but they're wireless with really good battery life. So I was actually mainly buying them for their battery life. So now I'm gonna name the file, and by the way, speaking of efficiency, right? So Cyberpunk, I'm gonna click OK, so it starts loading the menu. While it's loading the menu, I can type in 4K Ultra, enter, Control X, Control C. We've now got that benchmark run completed. And again, I'm having to manage 2 keyboards and mice sets, all of that. By the way, the mice, I've got Logitech G305s. And once again, I bought these based on their battery life. I also like them on gaming, but they're just a single AA battery. They're pretty lightweight. And this single AA battery will literally last me months. I don't have to worry about charging them. I just pop out a battery if I need it. But like I said, I've had these for a while now, and I think I've changed the battery like once. I liked it so much, I bought 2. So you do have to keep track of which one's running which PC and all of that. So maybe we'll run just a little bit more of a test here while I'm talking to you, and then I'll do a bunch of benchmarking off camera and get you guys some videos. So what I'm wondering here is if I can crank on the Ray Tracing Ultra preset, and then let's go to let's start out with FSR Performance. I'm just curious what this is gonna do, because I don't think the ray tracing is gonna be exactly what we'd like here. We'll go ahead and record this benchmark run, so you guys are seeing the real deal unless I notice any problems with the footage. I am going, you'll see this in the side-by-side comparison when it's ready. All right, so right when this loads, we load in, I wait until the scene pops up, we start the benchmark run, hit my hotkey, so it's getting my 1% lows and all of that. By the way, I've got some people asking how do you reset the averages when you have it. Well, if you set a start and stop benchmark run hotkey in MSI Afterburner settings, you just press that again, and you have it. I have it on my home key and my end key. Home is start my benchmark run, and I can press it again to just reset the counters, and end is my just end the benchmark run to freeze it, so I can hold those stats. Anyway, it's looking like we are below 60 frames per second. We're a little over 50, but guys, I've got to say, and what I'm interested in doing is some heavy ray tracing comparisons, like using what settings and in what games at what resolutions is ray tracing realistic here. FSR 2.1, I would hate to have to use the performance mode at 4K just to get ray tracing ultra going here. So this would certainly be playable, but it does not look ideal. But just keep in mind that even like my 3080, for example, also struggles to run 4K ray tracing in this game when it's all maxed out. And my benchmark run here, the average, I'm gonna have to delete this run, guys. So speaking of, yeah, I think while I was talking to you guys about the keys, I kind of bumped it again. Anyway, I better stop talking about on the video while running my run here, because it's gonna mess me up. So we will delete this one because I think I messed up my frame rate counter button. But you guys get the idea. This is the overall setup, and I'm able to multitask a lot while I do it, which is kind of nice. And you just got to keep your head in the game. Anyway, I hope all of you have an excellent day.